The team over at Seeking Alpha recently released what they believe are the top 5 dividend stocks for steady income. And dividend stocks are starting to get a lot more attention for a few different reasons. For example, just a few weeks ago, we saw the Federal Reserve lower rates. And we can already see that the market expects about an 87.7% chance that the Fed will cut rates again on October 29th, not too far away. And as the old Warren Buffett quote goes, interest rates are to asset prices what gravity is to the apple. When there are very low interest rates, there is a very low gravitational pull on asset classes. So to basically summarize what he's saying, this is good news, particularly for dividend stocks, for people looking for yield. As the yield on things like high yield savings accounts go down, more people turn to dividend stocks, pushing those stock prices higher. So in this video, we're going to be analyzing the top 5 dividend stocks for steady income based on what Seeking Alpha recently told us. So let's go ahead and dive in. The number 1 stock on their list was Alexander & Baldwin. Now, this is a stock I haven't talked a lot about on the channel before, but interestingly enough, we can see ALEX continues to reign as the number 1 quant ranked diversified REIT according to Seeking Alpha. So let's go ahead and dive into it and see why Seeking Alpha thinks it's so appealing. Now, in the last year, this REIT is down by about 7%, and in the last 5 years, it's actually jumped by about 62%. Year to date, traded pretty flat, currently up about 2.2%. If we look at that starting dividend yield, we can currently see it sitting at about 5%. So it's a relatively high starting dividend yield. Now, I've been discussing this over on Dividendology.com for a while now, but REITs are historically a very solid investment, and a lot of people don't realize that because they've underperformed the broader market by a wide margin over the last 3 years. But look at this report put out by JP Morgan from 2002 to 2021. The average investor returned about 3.6%. The S&P 500, 9.5%. Meanwhile, REITs were at 11.2%. This is not common knowledge today because, again, investors are so easily biased by the short-term movements of the market, and REITs have done very poorly over the last 3 years. But this market environment we're entering into, where rates are going down, is very bullish for REITs. Now, if you aren't familiar with Alexander & Baldwin, it is a company that's headquartered in Honolulu, Hawaii, and it has a focus on commercial real estate there, with their main focus really being shopping centers, and we can see they've achieved some impressive performance so far. For example, they've achieved 5.3% same-store net operating income growth as of their most recent earnings report. For a REIT, that's pretty solid. If we scroll down even further, we can see just net operating income growth overall in Q2 of 2025 was 6.3%. And their leased occupancy as of June 30th was almost 96%. Now, when it comes to REITs, what's the key metrics that we need to look for? Typically, for most stocks, we want to look for things like earnings per share growth or free cash flow per share growth. But when it comes to REITs, we don't favor as much things like earnings per share or free cash flow per share. And the reason is this asset class is required by law to pay out 90% of their earnings in the form of dividends. Instead, we look for things like adjusted funds from operations, and we can see that on ticker.com. Now, from 2020 to around 2024, they've actually grown this at a pretty high rate. We can see there's a little bit of a drop off from 21 to 2022, but the overall trend is certainly upwards. Now, they're expecting a little bit of a drop off over the next year, but it's still trending in a very healthy direction. So how should we be valuing this REIT based off this information? Well, if we jump over to our REIT valuation sheet, let's plug in the ticker. And there's 2 valuations that we want to look at. We're going to look at the historical price to AFFO multiple valuation to start. Now, all we're doing is essentially looking at how the REIT has historically traded compared to how it's trading right now. So, for example, we can see the trend line since 2020 here. This is the P to AFFO multiple. Since at least 2021, it's been trending down. It's trading at a lower multiple. We can see the average over the last few years is about 19.35. But for the trailing 12 months, it's only about 16.5. Now, the caveat to that is, like we just saw, AFFO is expected to drop a little bit over the next year, which you could argue that means it deserves to trade at a slightly lower multiple at the moment. But again, the trend line looks somewhat healthy, so overall, that does look like a compelling opportunity. Now, speaking of some of the best opportunities out there, you need to know about the promotion today's sponsor Moomoo is currently offering. For a limited time, you can get an 8.1% APY for the first 3 months on your uninvested cash and get anywhere from $20 to $1,000 of NVIDIA stock, depending on how much you deposit into your account. Moomoo is obviously a great place to buy and sell stocks, but I found that the Moomoo AI on the app has become incredibly powerful and has very accurate information. For example, I asked what impact will lowering interest rates have on realty income, and I've personally found that the results are quite impressive. For example, it discusses reducing borrowing costs, enhanced acquisition capacity, increased dividend attractiveness, valuation upside, macroeconomic risks. These are the key things that I would want to know. And if we decided we wanted to, we could easily dig even deeper into realty income stock. We could dive into the news for the stock, or perhaps more importantly, in my opinion, look at the earnings results, look at analyst targets. And we can even dive deeper into how the company has been historically traded versus their industry as well. So be sure to check out Moomoo at the link in the description so you can take advantage of the 8.1% APY on your uninvested cash for the first 3 months, as well as get anywhere from $20 to $1,000 of Nvidia stock depending on how much you deposit. Check out Moomoo at the link in the description. Now, if we look at the next valuation model, essentially we're going to use the dividend discount model. How should the REIT be valued based on how much it's paying out in dividends and how that dividend will grow in the future? Now, remember, when it comes to REITs, dividends are paid out of adjusted funds from operations. So if they're growing AFFO, then they can grow their dividends. It can also tell us how sustainable the dividends are. So for example, in 2024, they generated about $1.10 in adjusted funds from operations. In 2025, it's estimated to be around 95 cents. But if we look at Seeking Alpha, we can see they're currently paying out about 90 cents in dividends. So the vast majority of their adjusted funds from operations is being used to pay out dividends. That's a little bit of a red flag, to be honest with you. That's a lot of adjusted funds from operations being used to pay out dividends. So that's something we have to take into consideration. Now, they'll be okay if they grow at the rate they're expecting to grow at, but again, we typically want to see around maybe 75% on the AFFO payout ratio when it comes to REITs. They're sitting quite a bit higher than that. Now, to get to a fair value of about $18.20, which they're currently trading at, they need to grow dividends at about 3.5%. Now, to be honest, I do think that's very possible for this REIT with the projected AFFO per share growth that we're seeing. But the concern is anytime a REIT is already using that much capital to pay out dividends, it is a little bit scary if they hit a hiccup. Will that dividend be sustainable? So something to keep in mind. So definitely an interesting first pick, yielding about 5% with dividend growth potential. And I think REITs are trading at an interesting valuation in general. The next stock on our list is Lincoln National Corporation stock. And this is a company that's currently yielding about 4.48%. In fact, let's jump over to our dividend breakdown sheet. And what we can see is, yes, the nice starting dividend yield, and historically they've grown those dividends at a healthy rate, but the dividend growth has really slowed down in the last few years. Now, typically I place a heavy emphasis on how much free cash flow a company is generating versus how much they're paying out in dividends, but that's not really what we should be looking at for L&C. Why is that the case? Well, this is a financial stock. They have annuities, group protection, retirement plans, and life insurance. And typically when that's the case, we focus more on earnings. Now, I was a little bit surprised to see this stock on the list. And let me explain why. Again, yes, we're entering an environment where interest rates are lowering. Now, how do stocks like Lincoln National Corporation actually make money? How do they generate revenue? Well, when you buy life insurance or you buy an annuity, the insurer will collect the premiums today and then promises to pay you either years or possibly decades in the future. So to fulfill those promises, they invest those premiums typically in fixed income products so that the money can grow safely until it's time to pay out. So with interest rates lowering, they're not going to be able to generate as high of returns. Those spreads are lowering, the margins are lowering. Now, with that being said, L&C's definitely performed well in the last year, up over 31.6% now, and year to date already up about 28%. Now, if we look at this company from a valuation perspective and just run it through a dividend discount model, what we can see is to get to $41.60 per share, this stock will need to grow dividends at a rate of about 4% annually. Now, that's a little bit concerning for a stock that hasn't grown dividends for the last few years, and on top of this, like we said, the interest rate environment that we're entering into is not necessarily beneficial. Now, to make it fair though, they are projected to grow earnings at an okay rate. We can see 2026 projections, $7.86, 27, $8.60, 2028 around $9.20. So we're talking about decent single-digit projections when it comes to what analysts are projecting for earnings, so perhaps they can get back onto the road of dividend growth. For me personally, this probably isn't a stock I would buy. Next on the list, we have another REIT, CTRE, that is CareTrust REIT, and we can see in the last year they're up by almost 14%, and year-to-date, really phenomenal performance, up about 29%, not including dividends, and keep in mind they're yielding close to around 4%, so another pretty solid dividend yield. Now, if you aren't familiar with this REIT in particular, they own things like senior housing and skilled nursing facilities. With those historical dividend payments, we can see they do have a history of growing those dividends at a decent rate, so something to keep in mind. Now, one of the things that's concerning a lot of people with this REIT right now is looking at how it's historically been valued. Let me show you what I mean. If we look at the historical price to AFFO multiple valuation model, what do you notice? Well, we can see that the valuation it's been trading at has climbed quite a bit higher than it has historically speaking. In fact, we can see for the trailing 12 months, it's all the way up to about 22.62, when the average over the last decade is closer to about 13.6. Now, that scares off a lot of people. They're having to pay quite a bit more for each dollar of adjusted funds from operations that the business actually generates. So is that a reason to not invest in this stock? Well, the answer, like always in finance, is it depends. We have to remember, these types of valuations, when we're simply looking at multiples, don't tell us the full picture. The other thing we need to know is how fast are they going to be growing either earnings or free cash flow, or in the case of REITs, how fast are they going to be growing adjusted funds from operations in the future? So let's jump over to ticker.com and actually look at what those estimates look like. And right away, we can see they're projected to grow AFFO at a much faster rate than most REITs ever do. In fact, if we actually scroll down and dig into the data and look at those growth rates, you can see them right here. We're talking about projecting 17% growth, nearly 13%, 8.7% growth over the next 3 years. That's very fast growth, and that's the reason people are willing to pay a premium for it. Now, the scary part is, what if they don't actually achieve that growth? How confident should we feel that they can achieve this? That's always the key question. So for me, I can see why this stock would be on the list. I think this is an interesting one. Coming in at number 4, we have Gilead. This is a healthcare/biotech stock. They're headquartered in California, and they're most known for things like virology and oncology and some inflammation. Now, in the last year, they're up nearly 34%, and year-to-date up about 20.28%. And if we look at them from a dividend perspective, I've already plugged in the ticker. The starting dividend yield a little bit lower, about 2.83%, but we can see the 10-year dividend CAGR is about 9.3%. Now, the caveat is in the last few years, the dividend has certainly slowed down. And again, one of the things we always want to look for is not just dividend growth, but what I would call sustainable dividend growth. One of the things we have to keep in mind is the dividend payout ratio, at least from a free cash flow perspective, has climbed up a little bit higher over the last few years, even though the dividend has not been growing at a high rate. The reason is free cash flow has kind of wavered in the last few years. From 21 to 23, it took a little bit of a drop, but then 2024, it started climbing back higher, and as a result, that free cash flow payout ratio went lower than the previous year. That's what we love to see. If you can increase dividends while simultaneously the free cash flow payout ratio is lowering, that's a really good sign. One of my favorite things to see. Now, if we jump over to our stock screener, let's take a closer look at this company. What we can see is revenue per share been a little bit stagnant over the last decade, and free cash flow per share definitely spiked up abnormally in 2015, 2016. That's somewhat typical for pharmaceutical stocks, and then it's plateaued a little bit from 2018 to 2024. If we jump over to our profitability sheet, we can see the profit ratios. They're actually quite high. The 10-year average is about 80.9. Last year's came in at above 78%. So profitability, at least from a margin perspective, really is quite impressive. So if we look at this stock from a sensitivity model perspective, we have to remember there's two things to account for when projecting future returns: projected EPS growth and then a future projected PE ratio. And one of the cool features of ticker data, like always, is automatically importing the average analyst estimate when it comes to EPS over the next few years. So they're projecting solid earnings growth for Gilead. Now, if you're looking at this 2,000% growth and you're confused, well, the reason was the year before, 2024, EPS actually was quite low. So really, it's just recovering and going above where it was in 2023. But after that, we're talking about high single-digit projections for dividend growth. So this stock is a little bit different in a few different ways from the other companies that we've looked at so far. And really, it boils down to the dividend growth pyramid. The stocks we've looked at on the list so far, I would say, are closer to those higher yielding stocks down here on the dividend growth pyramid. And it looks like Gilead has the potential to be a little bit higher up. Maybe a lower yield, but definitely more dividend growth potential. If they're actually able to achieve these earnings growth projections, then they'll be able to grow the dividend at a healthy rate. So let's just assume that they get the average EPS growth rate from analysts of about 8.48%. over the next few years. The tricky part is really projecting a fair PE ratio because the PE ratio has been absolutely everywhere over the last decade for this stock. This is the difficult part, and we can see the trailing 12-month PE ratio is sitting at about 21.91, which when you remove the outliers is probably a little bit higher than it's historically traded. So let's be somewhat conservative with our projections, maybe around an 18 PE ratio. It's really difficult to say right now, to be honest. But if they are able to achieve that, then the results actually do look quite attractive. We could be looking at a 2030 compounded annual return rate of above 12%. If they're at about a 16 PE ratio, the returns again still attractive. A 15 PE ratio, again, probably still market-beating returns potentially. And keep in mind, this doesn't even include the dividend. So while I certainly think you have to be careful when you're investing in pharmaceutical or biotech stocks, there's a lot of uncertainty in those industries, this one does appear to have some potential. And then finally, the last pick on this list is probably the most interesting one, probably a stock you haven't heard of, United Fire Group. And the reason I don't think you've heard of them is look at the market cap for this stock. It's below $1 billion. This is a very small company. We can see this as a financial stock specifically operating in property and casualty insurance. Now, they've rocketed in the last year, up almost 50%. Year to date, up about 8.3%. And if we look at the dividend metrics, it's actually quite revealing. We can see the starting dividend yield is about 2%. But look at the dividend history here. We can see they were growing dividends, paid out a huge special dividend, and then in 2020, they reduced those dividends dramatically, and since then, they've grown them, but at a very slow rate. They've been very hesitant to be growing those dividends over the last few years. Now, the good news is, since we're talking about a financial stock, again, we look at the earnings payout ratio sitting at just about 26%, so the dividend does appear sustainable at its current prices. Now, with that being said, let's see what Seeking Alpha has to say about this stock. We have to remember, insurance company focused on small middle market and construction businesses, among others. One of the things that Seeking Alpha quotes is the fact that they grew net written premium to a record $373 million with the highest second quarter underwriting profit in 10 years. And if we look at their investors presentation, we can see exactly what they're talking about. There has been significant growth from just a couple of quarters ago when it was around $279 million, all the way up to $373 million. And if we just quickly look at some valuation ratios for this stock, I guess you can see why it made it onto the list. For example, again, we're talking about a financial stock, so typically people will look at things like the price to book ratio, and it's sitting below 1. Now, what does this mean? Well, the price to book ratio simply compares the company's market value to its book value, or in other words, basically to its net assets. So if the price to book value is below 1.0, that means the market is valuing the company for less than the accounting value of its net assets. So in theory, you could actually buy this entire company for less than the value of all the net assets if you paid market price. So those were Seeking Alpha's top 5 dividend stocks. Now, I see a lot of these lists that honestly I'm just not a huge fan of, and I think part of the problem is I think they don't do a good job actually describing what type of dividend stocks we're looking at. Are we talking about high levels of dividend growth? Are we talking about maybe more sustainable medium to high yield, or just high yield in general? It looks like based off what we saw on the list we saw today, for the most part, we're talking about stocks that are maybe in this area right here. Decent yield with some potential for dividend growth. And to be honest, I thought there were some interesting picks on this list. And the beauty of investing is you don't have to chase every opportunity. Think about opportunity costs. Think about your highest convictions. And think about what your goals are as an investor. Like always, if you'd like to download any of these spreadsheets and get access to the Ticker Data add-on on Google Sheets, then you can head over to tickerdata.com at the link in the description. So go ahead and let me know what you think of these companies in the comments down below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.